Let's try this again. What's up, everybody? We gonna make this work. We gonna make this work. What's up? What's up? Ooh, one of my favorite tattoo artists just hopped in. What's up, y'all? So, from the title, we gonna talk about whether or not dating standards are keeping people miserable. Is it keeping people miserable? So far, so good. Great, great, great. I want to have this conversation. There we go. Always coming through quick now. Gonna be in the building. What's up, everybody? Thank you all for joining us. There we go.
What's happening, man?
Conversations. Can y'all hear me? Can you hear me, James?
I got you up loud and clear, my man.
Oh, good, 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 good. So, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Love Unscripted Live, our Instagram show that we do on Thursdays, where we just have cool, calm, casual conversations. Y'all know I have a podcast that I usually do where I like to bring on, I'll say, people who are knowledgeable in relationships, and we talk about ways to really make relationships work. So much out there is focused on gossip, drama, and not too much is centered around tools, strategies, and interventions that are going to allow us to form and create healthy, happy, meaningful relationships. And so I have a fellow therapist on here with me. So, James, please introduce yourself to everybody who's joining us. Introduce yourself.
My name is James Bush. I'm a licensed professional counselor in the state of Tennessee, Arizona, Kentucky, and other states to come. I'm also the co-founder of Let's Have Manversation, where we converse with focus. Glad to be on the Unscripted podcast, man, for once again for the umpteenth time. I got Joe. And man, dude, I'm ready to jump into this, man, off the top turnbuckle.
Oh, definitely, definitely. So me and James go back and forth, and we text back and forth, sending each other clips, and we just have conversations from, I think, I'm not going to say it's better, but I'll say it's a different perspective.
Right.
Being clinicians, working with people behind closed doors, we have a vantage point and get to see what people really deal with.
Yeah.
And based on our clinical training, we are able to piece together what is happening, but also offer interventions and tools to help people get out of whatever situation they're in. We are there to empower people to get out of their circumstance, to be able to form healthy relationships, but it comes from a person-centered approach, mostly. Because as we both talk about, like, relationships, even though it has two people, there's still your side of the street you have to deal with, you have to be focusing on, you have to be learning and growing in. And this topic came up when we were talking this idea of dating standards. Now, before we jump too far in, think about it. Do you think, as far as dating standards, are they even beneficial? Because here's where I come from. Just because people say you should do something or you should have a perspective doesn't necessarily mean that you should. So when we talk about dating and relationships, are standards necessary? Like, do we even need them first and foremost? Because that's going to start. Because if we don't need them, then that's something that we can remove from our arsenal. But if they are, then it's something we need to add. Where do you stand on the idea of dating standards?
Well, I want to go out there and say that standards are great. Structure is great. But when your structure and your foundation is based off of trauma, that's horrible. And the thing is, when it's based off of vicarious trauma, that's horrible. Because the thing is that now you're taking other people's lives and situations which you only know a piece about, and you're building a whole edifice, which is called the relationship, off of it. And unfortunately, a lot of people have done that. So now they have made those observation standards, and we have what we have right now because we know anything that is faulty, that is not been heavily cemented, that has not been tried, tested, and true, will fall eventually. And that's what I'm seeing a lot of this day and age. Is a lot of stuff that people they thought was cool, they thought it sounded great, but unfortunately it has been tested and it has been miserable in the end.
Mm, mm. I'm with you. I believe standards are necessary.
Right.
You have to have some type of barometer or compass to guide you in the direction that you're going. And think about it. Why do we use a compass in the first place? To tell us what direction we are trying to go. It gives us,
True.
I love the word you said, structure. Structure is supposed to be a benefit when it comes to relationships, not a hindrance.
Should be.
So think about this. Think about this and tell me what you think on this. Your dating standards should be one that allow you to feel more free rather than constrained.
I would say so.
What are your
And
thoughts on that?
and one of the reasons is I equate it to. I mean, I know we have a lot of females in the audience, but I know a lot of them are hoopers. And the thing is that we know that on a basketball court there are 4 lines that are out of bounds. Now within those out of bound areas, though, that point guard, shooting guard, center, small forward, power forward can get creative and find ways to help their team win. And so the thing is, when you know what doesn't work, when you know the rules of what is being done, then you can say, okay, here's what we can do. And that's what the thing is. It's not always about what you can't do, but what you can do. But unfortunately, a lot of people, they have, again, faulty and lofty information or things that just sound good. And it's an idea. And because it's based on an unfortunate experience that they saw from their grandmother or their mother or someone else that is very close to them. And so what they did is from that day on, they said that I will not go through that. So now they've just, man, taken on someone else's trauma, and it's unfortunate. It just continues to pass on. And with social media, we can do a lot of this stuff all day, every day.
Right. So think about the tools that we want to use in our dating experience. Are they making the dating experience, the relationship experience better? If your standard is causing more harm than good, then what good is the standard? You mentioned something that people are getting standards from different places. So where do you think people get their standard from?
I mean, right, no further, man, than the room down the hall, their family. I mean, their mother, their father, or whatnot. And then sometimes I don't see some. I think as a mental health clinician, I mean, I'm okay. I'm a mental health clinician first. I do coaching or so like that when I want to work beyond borders. But as of next year, when the compact agreement goes in, there's more information on that later. I'm being in a whole bunch of other states. My point being is that I base this stuff a lot on science, on research, on data, on the mental health disorders, because a lot of times that's not discussed, it's not talked about. And so what we don't realize is that a lot of our family members, a lot of our friendships, they are in having some level of trauma that has not been diagnosed or has not been seen to. They have not worked on it. And so they are making decisions out of their trauma, unfortunately. They are leading with their trauma. It's like if you want to say it's the 80-20 rule, they had a bad relationship. So instead of them going and looking for the 80, they go looking for the 20. And that's unfortunate. And that becomes more of the norm nowadays because people feel like they don't want to miss out on something that potentially is great.
Mm-hmm. So let's think about it. Let's really break this down. I like that you brought in science. So we know from human growth and development, when it comes to our values, that up until the age of 12, we are given what we are to believe.
Right.
There's something that happens in the mind at 12 where we start to challenge what we were taught by our parents.
Right.
That's that, they call it the tween stage where you're 12 going into 13.
Right.
And we start to push back and challenge, and we start to decide what our beliefs are, what we want to become and want to do in life. I believe that is the same with our dating standards and how we view relationships.
Right.
If we grew up with a standard that did not align with actually who we are as people, it's going to be difficult. You're going to be, for lack of better terms, wearing somebody else's outfit. It doesn't fit you. It's not tailored to you. It doesn't meet your need or meet where you're going. If you have an oversized suit and you're trying to go for a job interview, it's not going to look good. It's
Right.
not. Even though your parents taught you well, even though your auntie and them gave you this standard, where is it coming from? I want people to know that we have to now start thinking about where our views, our standards are coming from, and then challenge whether or not we align with them. Because one of the toughest things for us to do is to say there are some information that was given to me, but it does not fit with me. And that's not a bad thing. That doesn't make what was given to you bad. It doesn't make you a bad person for not accepting it. It just means that that is not fit for you. And that is okay, because why? Your relationship is going to be a one-of-one. It's going to be a one-of-one. There's not going to be a replica of your relationship to be able to say, hey, can I use your strategy? Can I use your conflict resolution? Can I use your boundaries? It doesn't work. And people are miserable when they put on standards, when they put on principles that don't fit them and where they're going. That's something that we deeply need to be mindful of. And
Right.
so James, so here's another thing that comes up. A lot of people are taking information from other people.
Right.
They are applying knowledge that is given to them through social media, through blogs, through all type of stuff.
Make it plain.
How can people be able to tell whether or not information is good information as far as creating standards and creating a structure that you want to start to create for a relationship? How can they tell if information is helpful or harmful?
Here's one of the journeys that I had to take for myself, and that I continue to take. It's talk about processing the information that you're hearing, actually taking some time, getting away from people, and actually seeing, does this work for me? So I'm going to make it a little bit plain for you guys. You know, as many of us who are affiliated with religious organizations on the weekends or whatnot, if you go into that church or that religious organization, they tell you that you have to worship a certain way, and that is not what you do, then you know that that doesn't work for you. But yet you have a unique perspective, and that should not be ignored. And so the fact is that when you come into your own, when you find out, you know what, I don't worship like that, I don't praise like that, but guess what? This is what I do. This is who I am. And I believe that the person that I am serving is okay with what I'm doing, then I become empowered. And so when I'm empowered, that I can go a little bit further with this thing. But unfortunately, if I'm always basing my message off of what you, and you say, then man, I'll be lost, because I'm wearing shoes that don't fit me. They're two sizes too small, and it hurts when I'm trying to execute these things in life continuously.
Absolutely, absolutely. And let's think about, this is a serious topic, because people are basing how they engage and interact with people based on information that is given. Because we're in the technology age, and we're in this day and age where you can search and look up anything.
Sure.
Shoot, there's some recipes that I look up that I would have never thought to be able to cook unless I went and looked up the recipe and followed it to a T. But there are some times when a recipe that I try, it doesn't have enough salt in it. It's not spicy enough. It's not creamy
To my
enough. And then to my taste.
Right.
And that at that point, I have to determine, am I going to make an adjustment, or am I going to throw the whole thing away? So when people are talking about dating standards, because people, as I've seen, and this is from clinical work and just from watching people on social media, people don't want to change their dating standard. They have identified what they want in a partner. They have identified what they want them to look like, what they want them to be doing, where they want them to be going, and how they expect to be treated. So when we're talking about dating standards, if they're not working, or if we have not found enough suitable people to actually date and start trying to form healthy relationships with, is it okay to change your standards?
Well, I believe it's very much okay, but I think it goes a lot to ego and pride. And so that's something that we have to go and look in the mirror on, is that how is what we're doing, is it effective? Is it getting us the results that we want? And if somebody they had a statement that asked me, it said like, I don't want to settle. I don't want to settle. I guess what? Guess what? We all settle at the end of the day, because nobody is 100% of what you want or you desire in that point in time. And guess what? Your desires, your non-negotiables, who you are in your 20s is different than your 30s. It's different than your 40s. It's different than your 50s. There are different time frames that change. If you're not changing, guess what? I'm looking at you. Something's up. Something's off. So my point is that it's self-work. I tell people all the time, I say, my brother Joe, my brother Elam King, Kelvin Troy Johnson, they the relationship coaches. I am the person that, man, works with the individual within the relationship, because I want you to be your best authentic self and know who you are in the direction that you're going, so you can guide and direct individuals and also yourself. But if you can't do that, if you don't know who you are, and you've always been living off the breadcrumbs of other individuals, mama and daddy, guess what? Who had trauma, who had, man, stories, who had history, who had issues, then, man, you potentially will be lost. And unfortunately, that's where a lot of individuals, especially in our community, who haven't done the work, are currently right now.
You said a curse word. You said a curse word. I'm surprised nobody said anything yet. You said the S word, settling. You said settling. That is the scarlet letter, mark of death. Nobody wants to do it. What is it about the idea of settling that you see makes people so fearful and will actually make them dig their heels in more so that they don't have to settle?
I'll give you one thing. It's FOMO, fear of missing out. And so you have somebody who looks at their neighbor on potentially social media, and they think that, man, they're living, they're doing things, they're traveling, they got the black car with the Uber, man, that's coming to pick them up to whisk them away to the basketball game. They got, man, the 3-course meal, and they got the candlelight by the beach or whatever have not. They have all these different visuals of, man, something that they desire that they're not seeing in their relationship. So what do? They go and they set up these lofty standards that, man, potentially nobody can meet, because they're always moving. The goalpost is potentially always moving from here to here to here to here. And unfortunately, we've gotten to a place where we're all tired of each other to some extent. I'm tired of you. You're tired of me. And it's like, I don't want to deal with you. You don't want to deal with me. So guess what? I guess, man, it's best for us just to be alone. It's best for us to be alone, and we hook up on a Saturday evening.
Right. So we settle for lower levels of connection and intimacy in hopes that we don't lose out.
I'm grown. No, the key word is I'm grown. I'm grown. We grown. We can go and do this, man. We ain't got to be married. We can be like partners. We ain't got to have no, guess what? We grown. We just have a good time. We can take a trip together or anything like that. There's no commitment. There's no foundation. There's none of that. It's just that, man, we are settling in a sense for some dysfunction. That's the craziest thing. It's like, we don't like to settle, but we settle for that,
though. We settle at the job and not get a raise for 2 or 3 years, or settle for pennies on the dollar on a raise and don't complain.
Yeah.
But think about this. Like when it comes to selecting a life partner, is it realistic to think that we're going to get everything we want?
Well, I'm here to bust somebody's bubble. You're not everything that somebody wants. I mean, just being honest, is that the fantasy and reality are two different things. The crazy thing about social media and television is it sold us an idea. And, it's great, the kind of, we can manufacture things along those lines, but we are living organisms. We are breathing. We are evolving. When you walk down that aisle, you're already evolving. Your mind is shifting, it's changing. I'm going to tell you something. The neurons and the axons and the dendrites in the brain are recording a lot of information, and they're already shifting at that point in time. And as you have these extreme experiences and these hectic situations, it's already shifted in that moment. So my point being to you is that we've got to get to a place where, one, we are aware, but also we're patient with one another, and we're willing to do the work. Unfortunately, in this generation, we don't want to wait for minute rice. If that person ain't coming with it, man, in the beginning, then, man, we don't want to do any of it. And we miss out on a lot of good opportunities. I'll tell you something. I've had, over the last 2 or 3 months, I've had a situation And I know somebody's going to put in the chat like that, but that wasn't me because he was an idiot. He was like, okay, now you know what? There's exceptions to every rule. But I've had more people say, you know what? Me and my partner, we broke up for some things that were trivial. We could have worked that out, but we were immature. We were immature. And unfortunately, man, it split us apart. We could have got through that thing now that I think about it. Because hindsight is 2020. And as you go through your different situations and whatnot, you hop from person to person to person with that mindset that isn't cemented in anything of value or truth. You start to see, you know what? It's the enemy in me. It's not necessarily everybody else.
Man, hear me when I say this, y'all. Resist the urge to make your dating standards a cloak of protection, so much so that you hide from being vulnerable.
Yeah.
A lot of people create standards that are for protection so that in case it doesn't work, at least I can say that this person had these boxes checked off. At least I'm not leaving with nothing. A lot of people try to outsource their insecurities and call them dating standards. I'm going to say that again. A lot of people outsource the healing for their insecurities and call them dating standards.
So
a
true.
lot of what people say is not principle based.
Nah.
If you try to build a house with the same beams that you would use to build the roof, it won't stand.
Nah, well.
It won't stand. A house that is the foundation that is on the wood that's meant to face the elements and not withhold weight will crumble a house. And if you make your dating standards something that is not principle based, which means it can withstand the weight of everything that will come after you're in a committed relationship, after you're married, and now you have said till death do us part. If you do not have principles that are the foundation block and the person that you date is in alignment with that, you're always going to be at odds. So let's be mindful about where are these standards coming from. Are they indeed principles, or are we using them to protect us, which standards in some form does, but not to be a shield against potential hurt and pain. So let's move to this aspect. Here's what I think about it. I don't think having high dating standards is making people miserable. I think it's a high expectations. I think high expectations are making people miserable. Your high standard is not the challenge or the problem. It's your expectation of the person that you want to meet the challenge, meet the standard. What are your thoughts on that? High expectation being the source of being miserable versus having that standard.
Well, I think, man, sometimes too, expectation again is birthed within the mind. But the reality of the matter is that we all are uniquely different. And it's not someone you manufacture out of clay and just say, okay, build a bear, here's this person, here's who they are, there you go. No, they have a mind, they have a will, they have an idea, they've had background experiences, things that have shaped them to the place that they've gotten to right now. And unfortunately, what we have to do is we have to be able to listen to one another and do the due diligence in the beginning and say, okay, who do I have in front of me? Are you healing? Are you hurt? What are some of the things that happened in your previous relationships? Becoming vulnerable, having those questions. Who cares about the favorite color? Who cares about where we're going to eat at? Guess what? I like Applebee's, man, and I eat the steak, Parmesan, and shrimp, man, all the time if I could. But the point is that we got to get to a space where we're asking questions and becoming investigators. Because here's the thing, even though I'm not necessarily a relationship coach, or I don't look at myself as in that space, I do forensic analysis when I'm talking to folks who are struggling. And one of the things that I'm asking them is, why and where you do this in the first place? That individual shows you from multiple things that they don't really like you based on what you're looking for. They don't communicate with you. They'll sit in the top of the corner of the room and scroll on their phone. They're not engaging. You probably only have sex, man, on enough times on one hand you can count in about a year or anything like that. They don't like, man, there's nothing engaging about them. And you're looking for something else. So, but the fact is, because of your low self-esteem, low self-worth, low self-confidence and whatnot, you, man, went and locked up with them. And that's unfortunate because now I'm not necessarily looking at them for who they are. I'm looking at you because you have to know better. And it's something off with you. You have to make these better choices and better decisions. And until you do that, you will continue to make. Actually, there's research on that as well, too, especially about individuals who get out of divorces and how, again, like that 80-20, whatever they didn't get in that marriage previously, they will go and try to find that in those other parties out there. But their focus and their approach is all wrong. Because also, too, they haven't taken the time to look at themselves and say, you know what, if I'm being honest, what did I do in this one? Where did I go wrong at it? Again, pride and ego.
So someone asked about what are high expectations? What are high expectations? So what I would, you have, go ahead.
High expectations? I mean, I'll tell you what's something else. When somebody comes in my office, I don't tell people, that this is too high, I'm asking, how does this work in this society right now? How does this work? How does having the people that you are trying to pursue work in your life? That this kind of guy, he works a 40-hour job, a 40-hour a week job. He doesn't have the amount of money or time and able to go and take you certain places and do certain things with you. This is his job. This is his way of life. Guess what? You can grow to that, but unfortunately, he doesn't have that ability right now. And so you have to be realistic about where you are and who you are pursuing. And also have to ask yourself, am I in alignment with that other individual? If I am not in alignment or I cannot provide in a reciprocal nature or manner to that other person as well, then dang.
Right.
I don't see how this works.
Right. And high expectations is also thinking that someone should perform in a certain way that's beyond their ability level. And how do you know what someone's ability level? You have to observe and do life with them. Like there are certain people who won't be able to do certain feats. I mean, I'm sorry, like there are very few people who are 4'9" that can dunk a basketball. But if you expect someone that's 4'9" to be out there dunking like LeBron James, your expectation of them is too high.
Yeah.
Now, can they get out there and still shoot? Can they dribble? Can they do a pass? Yes. But what you're thinking, I need them to go do a windmill in the dunk contest, is not going to happen. So what they're able to do exceeds what you want or expect them to do. That can only be determined through observation. And once you decide that maybe whether or not what they're doing meets your standard, if it's too far outside of what you're comfortable with, then you may have to move on from that person. You may have to move on to that person because not everyone is able to do what it is you would want or desire. The challenge is for you to be able to identify that someone can't meet what it is that you want for your life and then move on forward from that. Like you said, if people are then fearful that they may not get what they want, then I will be okay with someone who isn't able to do what it is that I'm desiring. And that's how people get into marriages where there's contempt because they thought, oh, well, they're not able to do this now, but maybe in the future they'll be able to do it. I just hope that they'll be able to come around. Maybe once there's a little bit more structure, maybe once there's a little bit more connection and commitment, they'll be able to do this. That's not necessarily true. Everything you see in the dating space, in the dating phase, you date them long enough, you get in a committed relationship, is who they are. If, like you said, they're patient. So go ahead.
Let me throw something on that. So here's another portion of that is that in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, there's a statement that says, "And acceptance is the answer to all my problems today." And acceptance is the answer to all my problems today. And it's one of the things is that, when you have expectations, you are going and you are leading with that when you're dating, when you're collecting data, when you're having these discussions and conversations with individuals. However, at some point you realize that this person is not going to be able to do it like you have envisioned in your mind for the last 20 years. You know, it is what it is. And so that's where, again, love hopefully comes in, because, man, I've been able to understand that this person cannot do that, but I love them enough, man, that is not worth throwing the whole person and the whole relationship away, because I'm actively working on bridging the gaps. Unfortunately, we don't know how to bridge enough of the gaps because we think that everybody else comes with a finished package. I'm sorry to hear to tell you that is not correct. None of us are finished products. All of us, man, are continuously growing and working and trying to get better. But
I'm still growing.
If you come into this idea that, okay, wait, you're gonna be finished. When you get with me, you're gonna be, man, the full. Okay, what that make you then? Are you together? And fellas, I mean, be honest with you, man. I guess I am the manversationist, but, man, I put us on stuff on Front Street. We notorious for that, because she got to go do this, she got to go do that, she got to be this person, she got to be that person. I'm like, man, bro, but are you on your square, man? Are you focused? Are you walking in your purpose? Did you pick someone who can add to your purpose and add value in that space? No, you didn't. You just said, man, she had a fat ass, man, and I think I'm gonna have some fun with this shit, man, right here tonight.
Right.
So
what I want to do is I want to actually give examples of what are some dating standards that you can add to your list. I'm not saying you have to change. I'm not here to tell people what they have to do on their list, but based on research and clinical experience and just the hundreds of studies, what are some standards that will be able to withstand the test of time and actually make your relationship better? So here's one. And you can exercise these during the dating phase to be able to select partner. Here's the first one. Respect for your opinion, feelings, needs, beliefs, and desires. That respect part. What are your thoughts on allowing respect to be one of them standards that we have going into the dating space?
Means you're working. Because, man, in order to have respect, you got to be able to check yourself and look yourself in the mirror and say, okay, guess what? I don't necessarily agree with everything you're saying, but I love you and I respect you enough, man, that I want to hear it and see where you're coming from. Because, man, when I have done the work and say, okay, now I see where she's coming from, that gives me more insight on that individual. But, man, if I'm contentious, if I, man, confront someone in a negative or disrespectful manner all the time, and I don't allow them, man, to have their space, then, man, they shut down. And guess what? This is a genderless concept because men shut down and women shut down. Why? Because they feel like they haven't been heard.
Absolutely.
So then where does the relationship go? We're just ships passing in the night. Waiting until one of us, man, just checks out, or, man, one of us cheats. And then it is what it is.
Right. Think about the role respect plays in just relationships. You will be able to tell whether or not someone respects your opinion, feelings by having conversation,
right?
Talking. You mentioned it. Communication is extremely important. Being able to talk out different topics and to see where you agree and don't agree and still be able to be respectful is very key, because guess what? In marriage, there are going to be many disagreements that you're going to have. Listen, John Gottman says that out of 10 challenges you're going to have in your relationship, seven of them are going to happen perpetually throughout the entirety of your relationship. 7 of them. Seven. So if that's the case, then you need to pick someone on the front end who is able to respect what it is you have to say, be able to respect your feelings and how you feel about different topics. Here's the second one. Having shared values, ethics, morals, and philosophies. But James, here's the thing. Do people really have ethics, morals, and values anymore?
They do, but I don't necessarily believe that they're always congruent like we try to make them out to be. I think sometimes I think the fallacy and the myth in it is that, as me, okay, again, I'm a guy, so I'm not on the women. We try to look for ourselves in other people. That's not fair. You know, I might be a hustler. I might be a guy, man, who's at it, go get it. I'm very attentive. I'm very high octane, aggressive, or whatever have not. Now, my partner may not be that person. So does that mean that I cross them off the list? Oh, they're not that person, so man, they don't meet the criteria. No, I don't necessarily mean that. Because again, why would I want two of me? I want someone that can compliment me and I can compliment them as well. We work as a team unit. But unfortunately, it's all about me, my ego, my pride, and everything like that. If it ain't my way, it's the highway. And unfortunately, that's what the message has been sold over and over again. It's individualistic. It's not community based, not collaborative based. And man, that's why we have a lot of these situations because they don't look like the idea that we said, I'm not happy. and that kind of thing goes in. And now it goes to other portions. And we seek out that person at work who somewhat, man, comforts us in those ways and in those moments.
Bruh, listen, a lot of people don't know what their own morals and values are. They can
Really
say
are.
what I would do in a certain situation, but that's not tied to a value or a principle. So a lot of people's standard, what I wrote on my list, does not tie to anything that is substantial because many people can't articulate. If I were to say, what are the 10 principles that you live by? Many people would go, I like, or I believe it's not who they are.
Right.
And so when you have a standard that is not based in who you actually are, your guiding principles, it's going to be hard to identify other people who are in alignment with you.
Yeah.
It's hard to share what you can't articulate. If you can't articulate what my beliefs are, then it's going to be difficult to identify that in somebody else. You're going off of feeling, you're going off of the eye test, you're going off of what I can see, not based off of do their actions align with the principle that is in alignment with me.
Sure.
The first thing a lot of people need to do is identify what is your standard. Many people have religious practices that they go by, and that is their guiding light. And here's another tidbit. Your values, your morals should be something that moves based on the situation, based on the circumstance, or on the person that you're engaging with. So many people will change their standard based on how attractive they are. Bruh, no, let's really talk. People will change what they will or will not do based on how much I'm feeling you. That can be dangerous because then you move with the flow of what I'm feeling. And as we know, feelings are fleeting.
Can't
They
stand that
come
word.
and go. Here's what's crazy. Think about how fleeting feelings are. Even though people love their children, there are times when they can't stand them. There is not a time where I've heard parents say, I just love my kids 100% of the time. My feeling for them will never change. No. They're like, what is this knucklehead doing? Ate up all the food, took my car, all kind of stuff. Feelings are very fleeting. So
I got some.
Yeah.
I got another one to add to that, man. There's people sometimes, let's get off of external. Let's talk about internal, the individual. There's times when you don't like yourself. You don't like your hair. You don't like your weight. You don't like the amount of money you're making. You don't like the choices you make. You're not happy with some of the decisions that you've made in your life. You're not happy with, some of the people that you picked to be around you. You're not happy with that car you bought. You're not happy that you signed for an 84-month car loan that the car will be done in 20 before the car is even paid off. You're not happy with yourself, and much less, man, you're looking for another person to come and compliment you in that space. That's horrible. And so we've got to do a better job about that, man. We've got to do a better job. It's not necessarily, man, where we're always looking externally. We have to look internally at times as well, too. And when we do the work, when you are confident and just saying, you know what, I know who I am. I truly am not perfect. I know my blind spots. I know what gets me in trouble. It can be the thick chick, man, that's walking across the street or everything like that. We're like, oh, man, I'm off right now. That gets me in trouble. However, though, if I found ways to navigate around that, to say, you know what, stay focused. because you're leading with lust
Mm.
instead of you're leading with purpose. That could potentially be something, man, that moves you into getting to where you're supposed to go. But you got to be honest with yourself, though, and a lot of us aren't.
Mm. So when you're able to get those values in place, you know who you are, guess what? Your standards in turn should automatically qualify certain people and disqualify others. And it should happen rather quickly,
Right.
because guess what? It's not moving based on it's objective.
Right.
So it doesn't matter how attracted I am, how much money, what their body shape is. If they are not in alignment with my values, it's a no.
No.
It's a solid no. No is a complete sentence. It's done. And you save yourself time, energy, and effort when you're able to quickly qualify and disqualify people.
Yeah.
If it changes, now you have to rethink, oh, do they meet this? Oh, do they meet that? Well, I really like them in this way, so I'll let that slide. It doesn't work. Next thing on the list, someone who can be honest, trustworthy, and transparent during challenging situations. We're talking about standards to add to your list.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Someone who is honest, trustworthy, and transparency in challenging situations. How do you see that being a benefit to a relationship?
You got to be able to have hard conversations.
Mm-hmm.
One of the myths that, man, is out there is that if we are passionately in love with one another, if we are quote unquote soulmates, there's not a lot we're going to argue about. There's not a lot we're going to fight about. There's not a lot we're going to have to work on. Why? Because we're soulmates. Well, I'm not going to curse on this program, but the fact is that, man, that is so far off the reservation. In anything you do, whether you love, passion, you're going to have to work at it. You're going to have to put your time and effort in. You're going to have some storming moments, reality moments. Believe it or not, man, that's like one of the third stages in couples and relationship forming versus the honeymoon stage, the getting to know you stage. And then there's another stage after that. But then that storming stage is reality basis. Seeing if you can do this with that person. And how does that happen? Through those stormy moments, through real life moments. You have to be able to be taught. A relationship that can't be tried and be tested is a relationship that can't be trusted. So my point being in all of that is, dude, man, don't run away from that. Run to those things, because embrace it. Yeah, okay, cool. It doesn't mean necessarily that, man, y'all have to end, because somewhere we found it out this idea that if we have an argument and we are fighting or anything like that, if the spark is gone, then it's over with. No, it doesn't mean that. And we got to get out of that kind of stuff. You're going to have to work this thing. All of them.
And think about it. During that dating phase, especially early in committed relationships, you got all that oxytocin, you got all the good bubbly feelings, you're feeling good. Yet when it comes time to really get down to the nitty gritty of life and merging your lives together, seeing the compatibility and working through the things that take time. It takes time to figure out whether or not someone respects you. It may take time to see whether or not you really do have the shared values, because people can say anything. It will take a challenging situation to know whether or not someone's going to be honest with you, if they're trustworthy, or if they'll be transparent. That's going to take time.
I like it, because you really know where a person stands when the bottom falls out. When the bottom falls out. When mama and them got to come move in, man, because, man, she's got cancer stricken in her body. Where, man, the bills, man, is all kind of jacked up and crazy. Where, man, y'all only got one car to share between one another. When, man, you've got something stricken in your body. When you done lost your job. When the bottom falls out, you really find out about a person. And guess what? These are not overnight fixes. Guess what? You may be in it 6 months, 9 months, a year and a half, 2 years. Are you willing to stand with that individual through that process? And if you can't, it's okay. Jump off early enough. Don't waste your time and don't waste theirs.
Right.
But also, too, understand that no one in life is exempt from life situations. It happens to us all.
And you can start to see how honest, trustworthy, and transparent someone will be while you're dating, while you're doing life together, as you're being patient. Here's another one. And this is actually one of my favorites. Feeling safe and having an equitable relationship, being equitable,
Okay.
safety and equitability. Now,
Okay.
often people put equality, but as I've come to see, equality is not always possible, and it's not always realistic. But equity in a relationship can be possible. So let's take the safety part and then jump into equity. What are your thoughts on the safety part?
Who doesn't want to feel like, man, they're hurt, or that they feel like, man, they can have those conversations? They feel like, man, they can express themselves. If I feel like I've always got to shroud myself, if I have to compartmentalize, if I have to PC it, man, just to talk to you, that's not healthy. That's unfortunate. You know, so safety is necessary. It is needed. But let's talk about equity, though. Guess what? At any given moment, we all can be, man, we can be at 90 and we can be at 10. At any given moment, we are living organisms. We have so much that bombards us. And guess what? The higher you go within your purpose, the higher you go. I'm going to do my Dr. Umar. The higher you go in your purpose, the higher you go in your purpose, it's one of those things, man. You're going to be bombarded by multiple situations. They're going to try you. The best thing you want is, man, having someone that can, man, comfort you in that and aid you in those moments. So equity, man, sometimes I think, man, people look at it as we always have to be 50-50. That is not reality. Living organisms.
Right, right. Think about it. When it comes to, I see this so much with couples. People get so stuck in gender roles that there is not space to help each other almost, because the expectation is that's your job, that's your role. If you're going to do your part in the relationship, you have to perform, no matter what that is, whether it's working, housework, child rearing, whatever it is. There's not a space to be able to support each other when the expectation is you got to hold up your end of the bargain. Right. And as we said, there are going to be times where you're not going to have 100% to give. No. You're not going to feel up to performing your relationship responsibilities. There are times where you will need to step up and shoulder the load with your partner. That's going to be a necessity. That's going to be something that is going to happen. It's not a matter of if, it's going to be when. But when you create a culture of, you know what, we're in this together. So no matter what the challenge is, it's me and you versus the challenge, not me versus you. That will create a sense of more safety, which then allows for when challenges come up for us to talk about them quicker and get them resolved quicker. But if I'm fearful that you're going to look to me to have to uphold this standard, to uphold this role, to perform in a certain way, now that's going to cause stress and anxiety, and I'm not going to come to you when I need help. Equity creates a space where we help each other. We don't have to help each other in the exact same way, but reciprocity makes it possible to where everybody gets supported, everybody gets what they need as we're doing life. Right. If you have a shortcoming, I'm going to pick you up, and I'm not going to make you feel bad about it. I'm not going to hold it over your head because we're in this together.
Most definitely.
So here's another one. We're talking about standards that you can put on your list so that you can form healthy, happy relationships and you can find better quality partners. Healthy conflict management and the ability to communicate freely. Emphasis on the freely. Yeah. Not just communicate. Just because you talk don't mean you communicate it. What are your thoughts?
Well, a lot of us haven't been taught conflict resolution skills. You know, a lot of us, man, take it from the idea of, well, if we're arguing, then, man, we got a problem. Guess what? Disagreements happen all the time. And I challenge anybody, disagreements can be very illuminating. They can be life-giving. They can be something, man, that points you in where and shows you where the deficiencies in the relationship are. But again, that means being vulnerable. And who wants to look at their own stuff? Because I don't want to look at, because, man, that means, man, that I'm not all that I thought I was. I don't have it all together like I thought I had it together. That I've got some challenges, man, that I need to embrace. Okay, boom, guess what? I don't attend to my husband enough. I don't attend to my wife enough. You know, I'm out here working and I'm thinking I'm out here working 80 hours a week, and I'm out here bringing home the bacon, and I'm doing my thing. But the fact is, my wife feels neglected. So what does that mean? That means she still feels neglected. That's what that means. It's that she has a need, and we got to find a level of compromise to meet those needs. We've got 5 kids, we've got bills, we've got all kinds of stuff. It's challenging, but guess what? It's something that we have to work on. It's the elephant in the room that's not going away. That's the conflict resolution. That's the chaos. That is, man, where communication comes into play. But when we're not doing those things actively and just saying, well, she just got to accept that. Are you kidding me? It's like, I look at my Dr. Umar. Are you serious? Are you serious?
Yeah, yeah. And think about it, like everything we're listing are things you can be observing and you can identify while you're dating.
Right.
If someone has these attributes,
Right.
you have a high chance of being able to start to form a committed relationship with them. Notice what's not on here, James. Height. Notice what's not on these standards. Body type. Notice what's not on these standards, James. Income. Notice what's not on these standards.
Applebee's.
Social status. Notice what's not on here. Applebee's. Notice what's not on here. Sexual performance. Think about all these things. When you think about what makes marriage work, because I believe that if you're dating, you need to be dating for a purpose, and I believe that purpose is marriage. If you're just out here having fun, then there's other things you can call it. You can call it hanging out, kicking it. But for me, dating leads to a destination of another trip, which is marriage. And that's a whole nother trip that you're going to take once you're there.
Right.
But a lot of the dating standards that people have don't equate or do not even have any type of indicators that they lead to healthy relationships. I don't know of any studies that say if someone makes a certain income level, that's a really high predictor of someone who's going to be in a healthy relationship. How do we know this? There are millionaires and billionaires who have tons of money and their wives are leaving them.
Sure.
People have a lot of money all the time. We see it in the news and in the media. So the fact that someone has money is not enough to hold the house of a marriage and a relationship. Sure. Let's think about body types. I know a lot of men want a woman who looks a certain way. Just because someone looks a certain way and has a certain physique does not mean that they have the attributes to be able to form and maintain a healthy relationship. Social status doesn't mean anything. These are not indicators of healthy relationships. Now, they are things that you may want and desire. They are preferences, but does a preference necessarily mean that the package, the attributes, that the character is one that can start and maintain a healthy relationship?
Yeah.
It doesn't, because what happens when you get all of the attributes, the physical, the financial, the social things, and you're still unhappy? That's James. That's a terrible place to be in. Where I thought that if I get the woman that looks, that talks, that acts the way I thought they would, and they don't, then now I got to rethink some things. Or I can be in denial and be like, no, what? It was them. It was them. It wasn't what I was looking for. It wasn't what I was desiring that was the challenge. It was them. Mm-hmm. And once we do that, it becomes difficult to make those adjustments. We get into these cycles and patterns, like we talked about earlier. You go from one bad relationship to another, and you perpetuate many of the same things. Sure. So as we're about to wrap up, so as we're talking about dating standards, don't let them make you miserable. Don't allow them to be a part of your dating experience that you start to dread and that you start to question. Select principles that can withstand the test of time and that you can continue to grow in, and ones that create safety, ones that allow for dialogue and communication to happen,
Yeah.
and ones that are scientifically proven to lead to healthy relationships. Because I believe that's what we want. I
Yeah.
believe that's what we want. At a certain age, after being married for so many years, certain things start to fall off, not because they're not important, but because the bond and intimacy has grown so much that some of those things do not weigh as much as our connection to each other,
Right.
our loyalty to each other,
Right.
our undying and willingness to support each other in tough times when you're not your best, when you're not yourself. Because, like we saw during the pandemic, some people found out that, oh, my spouse is fair weather. Because when things hit the fan, are you still going to respect me?
Yeah.
Are we still going to operate from our values? Are we
Right.
still going to be honest with each other? Are we
Right.
still going to have safety when things are not going well? Are
Right.
we still going to be able to manage conflict and be accountable for what it is we say and do? Like, is that possible?
Is it?
Is it? And I
Mhm.
believe that when we start to change our standards just from a wish list into being more of a manifesto that is an extension of who I am, what I believe, and where I'm going, we can find some good people. But if
Right.
you look for tomatoes, I'm gonna keep using this analogy. If you're a chef and you're making a sauce and you're looking for tomatoes to make your sauce, if your judging system is inaccurate, you're always going to pick a bad tomato. And your sauce is always going to suck because you did not judge it based on what actually makes a good pasta sauce.
Right.
You have to change that. You have to change that. Anything else you got, James?
Man, all that's been said is need to be said, man. It's just everybody has to individually do better.
Oh,
Don't let social media, don't let your friends, don't let, man, folks who are hurting and who have not healed, man, take you down a rabbit hole that's not necessarily meant for you. The best thing you can do for yourself is to do the work. Ask questions. Get quiet. Man, sometimes take out your iPhone or Android. I'm not partial to it. And, man, write down some things that, man, you desire in life. And how do you get there? What's the goal? What's the purpose? What's the idea? And it's one of the most beautiful experiences you can have, because then you start to say, you know what? That person, wasn't going to work anyway. And guess what? They could be good people. They could be nice, sweet, very agreeable. But at the end of the day, you're like, you know what? That wasn't going to work. And there's a level of comfort in you doing that and finding that out. But if you just, man, continue to shotgun it and just go from person to person, and you're never reflecting on the moves that you're making, you're never watching the game tape, then you could potentially be lost. And that's
yo,
unfortunate
James.
because you don't have
Yo,
to.
let everybody know where they can find you at.
You can find me on the official James Bush on my IG. You can find me on that thing called TikTok, Rick Rock, or anything like that. The official James Bush as well too. But, man, I want folks to know that, man, December the 1st and 2nd, Huntsville, Alabama, Huntsville, Alabama, Huntsville, Alabama. It's Let's Have Manversation Conference number 2. We're so excited about it. We got 2 days of it. But the second day is going to be so powerful and impactful. We got a panel with relationships, with, man, I'm talking about civic duties. We're talking about mental health, and we're talking about the Divine Nine, man, and everything, and thus more, man. 181 Circle, Northwest Huntsville, Alabama. I can't say enough about it. Matter of fact, even Joe is going to be on one of the panels, man, as well too, and my buddy, man, Elam B. King, man. So, man, if y'all in the area, come and see us.
Yo, go follow James. He gives great information. And that is all we have for tonight. I'll be back next Thursday with another live show and another guest. I hope you all are going to be well. I'll see y'all next time.
Man, I gotta
Peace.
do it again. Are you serious? Are you serious?
All right. Take care, y'all. Peace.
Peace out, man.